If you're like us, you are totally obsessed with Ralph Breaks the Internet. This new Disney flick is hilarious, and there were more than a few jokes that were meant for adults. Check out these 10 jokes that weren't meant for kids from the new movie. Do you live for all things Disney? So do we. Click subscribe to stay up to date with all things Disney. Alright, let's check out those 10 jokes meant for adults.
Yeah, that one's really gonna haunt me for a while.
Slaughter Race. Slaughter Race is the scary, violent video game that Vanellope becomes obsessed with, but the whole thing is a giant reference to a very controversial video game. It's based on Grand Theft Auto. GTA has been around for over 20 years, and adults will remember how scandalous it seemed. In GTA, you can do all sorts of violent, illegal stuff. The adults watching Ralph Breaks the Internet will recognize the game that was always under fire from adults and activist groups. At one point, we hear a player's grandma gripe at him about playing the game, and later, Ralph says it's the type of game that rots your brain. There are so many direct references to Grand Theft Auto that we doubt younger kids picked up on it. Clench your cheeks. This next joke is probably the grossest joke in the whole movie, and it also has to do with Slaughter Race. When Vanellope and Ralph leave the vicious video game, Vanellope is pumped, but Ralph was more than glad to get out of there. Vanellope describes the game as exciting, but that is not the word Ralph would use. He thought it was terrifying. He said it's the kind of place that makes you clench your cheeks. He's not talking about the cheeks on your face. Ralph is basically saying that game might make a person so scared that they make a mess in their pants. Gross! We bet this joke flew right over the heads of most of the kids in the audience. Nostalgia. The animators threw in lots of pop culture references.
Holy cow! Look at all this stuff.
But many of them were meant for adults. They weren't necessarily inappropriate jokes, they were just old. A couple of these came in during the fight scene at the end. The Wreck-It Ralph virus has turned most of the internet dark. In the ruins of the fight, we see a couple of old school technology references. There is 8-Bit Diner. 8-Bit is a really old, primitive type of computer animation style. There's also a sign for Dial-Up Express. Back in the old days of the internet, you used to have to dial up to connect to the internet through the phone line. It was really slow, which makes calling it Express even funnier. It also made this really terrible screeching sound. Kids these days would not understand these references. Felix the Dad. When Sugar Rush gets unplugged, the game characters find themselves homeless. Fix-It Felix and Captain Calhoun decide to adopt the 15 kid racers, including Taffeta and Rancis. But adopting 15 kids is not the way to spice up a marriage, as they are told. Felix comes to Tappers and collapses on a bar stool next to Ralph. Ralph says he has never known Felix to drink root beer. Root beer may just be a soda, but they are definitely implying that it is an adult beverage. Felix guzzles down the soda and complains about how hard parenting is. Parents everywhere will totally get exactly what he is feeling. JP Spamly. When Ralph and Vanellope first get to eBay, they are bombarded by pop-up ads for things like getting rich by playing video games. Everyone knows that those ads are totally scams, but Ralph and Vanellope are new to the internet. They connect with JP Spamly to try to get money. Spamly comes across as a completely shady character, and he's dressed like a classic scamming salesman. We bet all the adults have come across scammers like Spamly in real life. He even takes Ralph and Vanellope to his really suspicious office. We know what all those adults were thinking. No, don't do it, Ralph. Watch out for scams, kids. Oversized baby clothes. eBay can be a really strange place, and Ralph and Vanellope figure that out pretty quickly. They go looking for the Sugar Rush steering wheel, but they are overwhelmed by all the strange stuff for sale.
That sounds interesting.
Oh, Ralph, come on!
Vanellope and Ralph are pretty innocent, so when Vanellope sees a sign for lingerie, she mispronounces it. She says it appears to be some sort of oversized baby clothes, but adults know that it is the type of clothes adult women wear, and only in very adult situations, if you know what we mean. This is the only really dirty joke in the whole movie, but there are plenty of other jokes that are not kid-friendly. Stay tuned for a super violent joke. Bob Ross. Ralph makes a bunch of viral videos to get money quickly. One of the quick clips we see is Ralph acting like Bob Ross. Bob Ross was a famous painter from TV in the 1980s and 1990s. He's no longer around, but his shows have become popular again on YouTube and Netflix. Millennials today love him and his calming presence. Older adults will remember Bob Ross when they see this clip. But this joke was meant for the millennials who have started to idolize him in the last few years. We think it's a great little tribute, and it's awesome that the creators included jokes for all different age groups, but the kids probably won't understand this. Internet is very intuitive. For kids these days, the internet has always existed. They grow up using the internet, and a lot of times, kids are better at using the internet than adults. Younger people seem to think the internet is very intuitive, which just means it makes perfect sense. But older people don't think that way. They didn't grow up with this sort of technology. At the search bar, Ralph is having a lot of trouble searching for the Sugar Rush steering wheel. But Vanellope, who is just a kid, finds it on her first search. Ralph asks how she did it, and she tells him it was easy because the internet is very intuitive. This is making fun of older people who have a much harder time with the internet. Cinderella's glass slipper. One of the most talked about scenes from Ralph Breaks the Internet is the Disney princess scene. It is hilarious. When Vanellope glitches and ends up in their private room, they all get ready to attack. Rapunzel has her frying pan, Merida has her arrows, and Cinderella aggressively breaks her glass slipper to use as a weapon. Vanellope is totally freaked out by this.
Whoa, ladies, I can explain!
But the joke isn't about using a shoe. It's supposed to look like Cinderella is breaking a glass bottle of an adult beverage to use in a bar fight. And we aren't talking about a happy pub like Chappers. We're talking about a shady, violent place. It's extra funny because Cinderella does not seem like that type of violent at all. Shank. The head racer and leader in Slaughter Race is Shank. She's tough, fierce, and becomes a mentor to Vanellope. But her whole name is a joke about street violence. A shank is kind of a makeshift knife used in fights. Her name may just sound tough to kids, but adults will understand that she's as fierce as a street weapon. She even goes on to say, "shank you" instead of "thank you" when she's talking to Vanellope. It's a pun, but it's not super innocent. Thankfully, Shank is more than just a scary villain. She's actually a pretty cool character. Real shanks are dangerous though. Yikes. What was your favorite joke in Ralph Breaks the Internet? Sound off in the comments. And that's it for 10 jokes in Ralph Breaks the Internet that were not meant for kids. Give this video a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.